Welcome back to our Renew Students YouTube channel. We are in the final 2 weeks talking about the Gospel of Mark. We've kind of built it all up into these last 2 weeks where we talk about kind of the last things that Jesus does and talks about and what happens to him. And so where we kind of last left off about a week and a half ago-ish, we were talking about the sacrifices that people had made in Jesus' life and how he would acknowledge them. And this is particularly interesting because as we continue, everything from here on out is basically kind of a sacrifice of Jesus and what happens to him. And so the story that we turn to today is definitely interesting because it has a lot of elements that a really cool story would have. It has betrayal, it has dinners and feasts, and it has some really good friendships. And so we'll be turning to Mark chapter 14.
Yeah, so in this story, now, what happens is that the people of the Jews had this tradition of the Passover in which they celebrated what is their freedom from Egypt long time ago in the times of Moses. So they would get together and have this kind of like banquet. And so right before they were doing planning this whole banquet in the Passover, Judas Iscariot goes to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the people who wanted Jesus to be killed. And he says, you know what? I will give Jesus to you guys. I will indicate who he is and bring you to him so that you can arrest him if you pay me a sum of money. And then the Pharisees were like, wow, this is one of the disciples of Jesus. And they accept this deal with Judas. So with that happening, Jesus then sends his disciples to say, okay, for the Passover, we're going to do it in this specific place. Just follow this man, and he'll lead you to where we're going to have the Passover and prepare it there. When they arrive and everything that Jesus had told them happened, they start having this banquet together. And this is something like pretty intimate in which, he brings his 12 disciples together all around the room, and everybody's like, yeah, this is like our great celebration happening. And then he tells them, okay, one of you will betray me, betray Jesus. And everyone was shocked at that moment. Like, well, who's going to betray you? Like, is it me or who is it? And Jesus says, it's one of these people who are eating bread at this table with me. And he knew from the start that it was Judas. And Jesus, though he knew this, still loved and accepted Judas. And he knew that because of the consequence of Judas' betrayal, that means his own death. But it was going to be terrible also for Judas himself once everything unravels. But he still continues what is this tradition of the Passover because he knew its importance about what it meant to him and to the disciples as being like the last night together. So eventually when they move on into a time of prayer and go to a garden, it is then when Judas goes away and brings this people so that then Jesus is arrested.
So this is pretty interesting because Jesus knew all of this was eventually going to happen, and he kept telling them that he's going to die. All through these, especially these last couple of stories that we've talked about, Jesus keeps talking about his death and how he's going to die. And so he knew very much what was coming, and he knew it was going to be Judas that was going to betray him. But still, that didn't stop Jesus from including Judas in the 12 disciples. That didn't stop Jesus from inviting Judas to have dinner with them still. And he didn't treat Judas really any differently than any of the other disciples. They still sat around the dinner table. They still ate together. And that's a really difficult thing because I don't know that I would be able to look somebody in the eye and treat them with love and respect, knowing that they were going to betray me and it would lead to my death, basically. And so what Jesus does here is he really shows a deep love and commitment to Judas, even though Judas was going to betray him. And I think that really goes to show us just how deeply we should care about people, how still we should continue to love them, because all this time Jesus has been talking about loving and caring for others. And in these moments, he continues to show that to Judas, even though Jesus knows what's going to happen. And so this kind of brings up all of the stories that Jesus has talked about, all the examples and lessons that he's shared with them. And in this moment, he's showing them that he can also be this example, and that he is going to do what he has asked everybody else to do. He's asked everybody else to love each other and take care of each other. And Jesus is doing that even in these moments, which is very cool, but also very hard to imitate for Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus was the one who had told them, love your enemies, because people around us will love maybe their friends, maybe their family, but they'll stop there. But Jesus says, go beyond that. Love even the people that might hate you or betray you. And he lives what he said, and he showed them what they were supposed to do. And Judas, it's hard to understand everything that was going throughout his mind, whether it was he just wanted the money or he wanted something more than just what was happening. Judas really didn't follow Jesus, and he had his own intentions in the end. And I think we have to be careful, and rather than accept his way in which we want something like money or something else, we accept Jesus' way, and that is to love everyone, including our enemies. So we'll continue more throughout this story about what happens to Jesus now that he's been betrayed, now that he's been given to the Pharisees. There's going to be a lot of twists ahead, so stay tuned until our next video.
See ya.
See ya.